Now, I count for, in 2010, 3 jobs. I've been unemployed for over a year. I count the 3 jobs. Not
So
only
one
that,
person, just you, Maria,
yes.
every time they hire you back from a temporary layoff or they have a job or a neighborhood you're done with, and then they shelve you temporarily and then bring you back, presumably to do another neighborhood, another area, you're a new job.
Well, let me tell you the really sad thing about this, and it's our tax dollars at work. I've worked my entire life, and I pay taxes my entire life like you have, and many of your listeners have. And what they do is that they hire you, they'll train you like a week, give you 35, 40 hours of training, and give you about 6 hours of productive work, then lay you off.
Why do they do that?
I believe they're pumping job numbers. I also believe they want to make sure that you cannot collect unemployment. And that's the other end, so you don't show up as an unemployed person. See, I show for 3 jobs, and I also show 0 for unemployment.
All right, you can catch Neil's entire interview with that whistleblower on the web, foxnews.com/yourworld. Meantime, those claims and emails from a regional census director supporting those claims, raising a big red flag for our next guest, Republican Congresswoman Michele Bachmann of Minnesota. On the phone with us now. I don't know, did you even know things like this happened, Congresswoman? Maybe you did. I didn't until I watched Neil's interview.
No, Connell, unfortunately, I did know that. I spoke with a census supervisor here in Minnesota who confirmed that to me as well, privately. And then also I spoke with another supervisor out of the state of California who confirmed the exact same information. I also received information that talked about how they were encouraged to double and triple count people in the census.
Right.
And I think there are real concerns about this, and people need to have answers.
Sure. I mean, we had 411,000 census workers added last month, and, this woman tells us she could be counted as 5 different workers depending on, which month it was, and she's rehired and what have you. What do you do about something like this?
Well, you're exactly right. The numbers prove what an absolute scam this $1 trillion job stimulus plan was, and the president told us that if we borrowed and spent $1 trillion, that the government would create millions of jobs, 90% of which would be in the private sector. Unemployment would not rise above 8%. I mean, even the umpire, Jim Joyce, of the Detroit Tigers and the Cleveland Indians game, had the decency to admit he made a mistake, and he apologized for it. But by contrast, President Obama continues to give speeches telling us how brilliant his $1 trillion jobs program is working, despite clear, uncontrovertible evidence to the contrary, the opposite of the humble umpire. I think the president and the Speaker of the House should admit the obvious. They were wrong. They should apologize.
Well, I want to see if there's maybe something specific that could be looked into in this case. Let's show you this email. If you watched the program yesterday, you may have seen it, between one of our producers here at Your World and the Census Regional Director. This is from our producer. Can you please confirm that after a worker is let go for a lack of work and then rehired and goes through new training for a new position, that counts as 2 separate census jobs created, what we were just talking about. Now we bring up the response. This is from a regional director, this woman's regional director. The response, yes, it does, even if it is the same person who is experienced, exclamation point. That sounds to us, Congresswoman, like it's crazy. I mean, on this, something like this, is there something specific you could do?
Sure. I think what we could do is demand a disaggregation of the data, and simply what that means is specifics. In other words, how long were these people hired for? Were they in the situation of your previous commentator that they weren't allowed to file for unemployment benefits? So if we know that the same person was rehired 2, 3, maybe even 5 times, then that tells us the true growth of jobs with the data. But really the bigger point in all of this is the fact that these are government-created jobs. These are not jobs in the private sector, which bottom line means, unfortunately, we're not moving back to low unemployment, and we're not moving in the direction of recovery. That's the scam of these numbers. And quite simply, this is the administration that promised transparency and accountability, and they are giving the American people neither.
Now, if you took out the census workers, it would actually be negative job growth in the government sector. It was all census workers, because the local governments are cutting jobs. Congresswoman Bachmann, thank you. Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
All right, the number